Hi, my name's Helen and we're here at Rosemoor, and today we're going to show you how to make a Christmas wreath. So when you're looking for foliage for a wreath, obviously hopefully you can cut it from your garden. You're looking for evergreens because evergreens last longer when they're cut, because things like the hollies have got a very natural thick cuticle to the leaf, so it actually stops water loss. And obviously the wreath could be on your door for maybe 2 weeks before Christmas, and because you want it to last through the Christmas period, evergreens are the ideal choice. So while I've been working in the garden, I've just homed in on a few things that I could use for this wreath. This holly here, this is Ilex aquifolium pyramidalis, and this is really good for a smaller garden because, as the name said, it's pyramid. It's very upright and narrow in growth. We're very lucky at the minute because this is absolutely full of berries. But unfortunately, by the time we're coming up to Christmas, the birds will probably have taken those. I would rather the birds take them actually than take them into the house. But it doesn't matter because the holly itself is still, with the nice shiny leaves, good enough to use without the berries. So it's a bit of luck really whether come Christmas there's still any berries on. And then also you need what I would call some conifer. And this is just what people can use for hedging, which is a Lawson cypress. So I was thinking that most people may have some of this in their garden if they've got a conifer hedge. And this again, evergreen, shiny foliage, and the texture of that just complements the more simple leaves of the holly. And then just as what we would call a filler, again, a common garden plant is Pittosporum. Again, evergreen, again, smaller leaves than the holly. So I think those three types of foliage will contrast well for the wreath. So then you have to decide, obviously, what size wreath you want to make. And that can depend, obviously, on the size of your door or where you want to hang it. And also the type of wreath ring that you want to use. Over the last few years, it's gone more into more natural products. So this is just like a vine that's been made into a wreath ring. And the size of this is 30 centimetres or 12 inches. This here is a metal wreath ring, which you can buy from any florist. And this one is slightly bigger. So if you want a bit more of an impressive, bigger wreath, this one here is 14 inches or 35 centimetres. Or if you've got some willow in your garden and you fancy having a go, you can twist willow round, make a ring to any size. This is a much smaller one. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the natural wreath ring. So what you need to do is you need to use this foliage, and what we're aiming to do is make up these bunches of foliage, which we will then attach onto the ring. So what I'll do is I'll show you how to make up a couple of bunches, and then I've made some of these earlier so that I can then start tying them on. So it's quite straightforward. So again, from the florist or garden centre, you need to get some reel wire. And it needs to be pliable reel wire, but if you go into the florist, they'll tell you exactly what you need for making a wreath. And then you need to then select your foliage. Now I'm just going to use these snips. So I'm cutting my bits of foliage. And then generally what I tend to do is I make each bunch pretty similar so that the wreath just looks uniform all the way around. But again, it's a personal thing, and if you want to do every bunch different, that's absolutely fine. So once you've got your bunch there and your wire, what you need to do is you need to make a small hook in the wire, and then you take your bunch and then you lay the hook alongside the stems there, and then you just bind round tightly and just leave a bit of a tail on that. And this is an old pair of snips. I wouldn't use my brand new secateurs to cut that wire. This is just an old pair of scissors will do. You've just got to make sure that that is strongly on the wire. So that's your bunch. I'll just do one more just to make sure that we can see exactly what we're doing. So a bit of the holly, then a bit of the Lawson cypress, and a bit of the pittosporum. So I just strip off those bottom few leaves, put those together. So I've got my nice bunch like that. Again, with my reel wire, make my hook, lay that onto the stem, and then twist around tightly. Obviously, as this is hanging on the door, the material will start drying out, so it is really important to do that tightly so that it doesn't start falling to pieces. So once you've got all your bunches prepared, like I did these ones earlier, then we can start tying them onto the wreath ring. So I've decided I'm going to use the natural material. So the first thing you have to do is you have to secure your reel wire onto your wreath ring. So you just need to make sure that's secure. So once that's secure, then we can start tying on the bunches. So you basically lay that onto the ring. I'm going to start at the top here. And then what you have to do is you then wind the wire round over the top of the stems until, again, you need to do it tightly. And then you go for your second bunch. I haven't put berries in all of the bunches. So I think sometimes you can overdo the colour. And as you can see, I'm not going to use anything plastic in this. And you just got to make sure that it is tight on there. So you just keep winding on your bunches, making sure that they're nice and tight. And then when you get back to where you started, you just got to put your last bunch in and just try and make that look so you can't see basically where you started. So you just slip that in underneath your first one. This is just the little difficult bit here. Again, just pull that wire tight. I think we're about there. So when I was working in the garden and I was thinking of making a wreath, under one of the conifers, this Cryptomeria japonica, there was these lovely brown bits that had fallen off from the tree. So I just thought that would complement the greens and just lift it a bit. If you haven't got anything like this in the garden, it's an ideal time now to go around and you can always just collect, this is some nice brown leaves, this is an oak leaf, and you can do exactly the same with the oak leaves. Just wire them like you did the individual bunches, and then you could use those in there instead of the brown or conifer there, and it just gives you the colour contrasts. So once we've got to the finish and we've got our last bunch in, just check that you're happy with it, and then we just need to just finish off that wire so that we can take the reel away and just secure it. So again, as I said before, I'm just using these old snips. To cut the wire and then just secure that wire so that it's safe. So that's the basic wreath done, and as I say, just make sure it looks balanced. If there's a bit that you don't like the look of, you can just snip that bit off. So that's the finish. And then you can also add other bits if you'd like to. So these are some weather cones, again, that we've picked up from under the Scots pine tree in the garden here. And I've just wired these. So this is really easy because the pine cone, if you collect a Scots pine or any pine cone, usually they're closed up. But if you put them somewhere warm and dry, they will then open, and then that makes it really easy to wire those. So yeah, you just basically go in between the scales and just wrap round the wire. And then just give it a tug to make sure it's secure. And then again, if you want to, you can then wire these, push them through. I put that way. So yeah, if you want to add cones, I'm not going to add cones to this because I just like it as it is. But if not, you can push the cone through and secure the cone onto the wreath. And quite often it's nice sometimes to maybe do 2 or 3 in a group, and maybe they say odd numbers looks best, so you could have 3 here, 3 and 3, so 3 groups of 3 spread around the wreath if you'd like to use some cones just to add that extra bit to it. So when it's time to hang up your wreath, you just need to, again, you can use the same wire or you can use string, and then you just need to tie it around the wreath and secure it. So I'm going to use the wire here, and then you can just hang that up. So it's a good time of year now to be looking in the garden when you're cutting things back to see if there's anything you can use if you're going to make a Christmas wreath this year. And yeah, good luck and happy Christmas.